8 consumer principles. Again, this is all biology. The ones in white are the ones we're going to go over tonight. We don't have time to go through all of them, but this is what I'm absolutely most passionate about more than anything. Effective frequency. Does anybody know what it is? Take a guess. I'm going to put you on the spot. No idea? Anybody want to take a guess? How you doing?
How's it going?
How's it going? Anybody want to take a guess? There's a little bit of a... Yes. That's exactly what it is. It's how many times a consumer needs to hear a message before. And then what do you think the next thing that's going to pop up? Answer that question. Before what? Before they're likely to act. In large corporations, the Geicos of the world, all these large corporations, they keep track of these stats. So it's how many times a consumer needs to hear your message before they're likely to act. And it's no different. You're sitting on a couch, you hear a Geico commercial. You hear it over and over and over again. There's a reason why they keep doing it. Because on average, a consumer needs to hear things upwards, see if we can get there, upwards of, and this is in a form of question it's going to tell you, upwards of 20 times. Which is why, and we're about to give this away, is a great tip to increase your referrals. Is that if you want a free way to increase your referrals at your practice, everyone's into paying for apps and technology and everything, but the single best way to increase your referrals at your practice is to ask. Train your staff to ask every single patient, every single time they're in front of them for referrals. But do it in a different form. Teach them to ask, how was your experience with us? Did everything go well today? Because first of all, by doing that, you instantly separate. When I ask that, what are 3 things that you're doing that nobody else is? No practice in healthcare is train their team to ask every single patient, every single time, how was your experience with us? That doesn't happen, which instantly separates you from a commercial standpoint in the practice down the street.
Hey Brian, can I interject there?
Go ahead.
So I joined Brian about April of last year, so a lot of the stuff that he's talking about here was foreign to me at the time. I had to absorb and acclimate to it. But one thing that, as I've been working with clients now, that blows them away every time they start doing it is what Brian's suggesting here, is every time a patient is ready to leave the practice, when someone at that front desk or whoever's the last person in contact with them says, is there anything we could have done to make your experience more positive? Right? And it just blows away the staff member when they ask that question, the type of reaction they get from the person. There's 2 things that happen there. Number one, it's a great warm fuzzy moment for the patient, and it's that opportunity then to say, to ask for the referral on the heels of that question. But number 2, if it was a less than pleasant experience, isn't that something you would want to know before they left your office? Because too often that notion goes unnoticed, and they can do some very detrimental things to your business, to the brand of your business, when they leave and that hasn't been discovered until they're gone. Right? That's really surprised me, the feedback I've gotten off that one simple question before they leave the office.
And think about it. Have you guys been to a healthcare practice where that question's even asked you? Did we do a good job today? Did everything go well? Is there anything we can do to improve the experience? Have you been asked that before inside a healthcare practice? Whether it be a physician, GP, ortho. Almost all the time when we ask that question, the answer is no. And those are the ways you grow your business. You don't grow your business by paying for pay-per-click, or postcards, or radio. You grow it inside out. And that's one example of thousands to do it, is by training your staff the things they would be trained on if they went for a commercial organization to work and provide customer service to consumers. Because the thing is, it shows you care by asking. The other thing is that it solves, what do you think the worst complaint is? The worst complaint you can have at your practice, what do you think that is?
Waiting.
Waiting? Okay. Anybody else?
Didn't get what they want.
What they want? Okay.
They're losing confidence in their practice or
It's a little bit of a trick question. It's the one that you don't know about. If I got mad at you today because I waited 20 minutes, but I didn't tell you, but I went out and told him, her, and everybody else throughout the community. That's the worst complaint you can have, whether it's be waiting too long, whatever the complaint is because you didn't find out, giving yourself the opportunity to overcome it right then. But meanwhile, the community's being told, and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. And that's another reason why your staff should always be asking, how did things go with us today? In their own terminology, of course.
A lot of softwares now, after appointments will send out emails like, see, I don't know, sometimes it's kind of hard, like in a busy afternoon, people are waiting to schedule and kind of do that. So, I mean, there's a lot of softwares that you send out emails and then people can reach you or text and let you know too.
Right. That's exactly the routine that we encourage, but ask the question first. You get their positive buy-in, you get their positive feedback to then say, would you mind if we send you and just as you described. So
no, I just mean like an auto, it just happens after check out.
And we're big believers, the digital stuff, the emails, anything automated, big believers in it. But one of the biggest hurdles that you guys have to have as a CEO, and we hear it a lot, is we're busy, we don't have enough time. When the response, and this is from a CEO to CEO standpoint, needs to be, how can we generate a better schedule or a better routine to give us the time to make sure my staff can ask these questions and make sure they can do all the things from a commercial standpoint that's going to separate me from everybody else. Because every practice, almost every, that we talk to, time is an issue. Well, that sounds like a great idea, but we don't have enough time. Yeah, we really want to do that, but we don't have enough time. So the response is that what do you then need to do to make the time to be able to do it? If you believe in it and really think that, hey, having my staff ask that simple question would help separate me. And of course, that's one of 100 different things we're going to talk about. But if you see value in it, then the step needs to be, what do I need to do to make time? How do I need to role play with my staff? Which again, role playing is the single best way to grow your practice, period, in your story. And it's also the least utilized. It's vastly underutilized. Nobody likes to do it. That's the biggest reason. And we're going to get into more why. Reciprocity. Go ahead.
Not to get too detailed, but are you talking, is this the assistant asking the patient as they're leaving? Is this the front desk asking the mother as they're checking out?
Right.
What's the difference between, hey, this is 10-year-old Johnny, what did you think, versus asking mom, what did you think?
Right.
And do you want, hey, if they do have complaints, that being aired at the front desk,
right,
with everybody else checking in, or is this done with the staff? But they're asking Johnny, they're not asking mom necessarily.
Right. I think it's more the philosophy, right? So you're never going to hit them every single time with every single person. But if the philosophy and the culture is built within your organization, that your staff cares so much about giving that patient an experience that no other healthcare practice they've ever been to has, then you create a situation where every staff, again, because they care so much, wants to ask when they're in contact with that point. When I had a series of plastic surgery practices many years ago, and our protocol was the same thing, is that it is your job, every person that you come in face-to-face with, to ask them in some form or fashion how things went today. You can ask it in your own. We're very big on, we're going to talk about it, we cannot stand scripts. We think from a consultant standpoint, a lot of the consultant models in healthcare are very outdated. A script does not grow a business, a robot does not grow a business. So you have to teach them the philosophy, and role play the philosophy with them more than anything. I didn't exactly answer your question, but basically our protocol is just making sure that if I'm with one of your patients today, regardless of what I'm doing with them, when my time with them ends, or at some point before that, it's just, we just do it in a casual conversation. How's everything going today? Are we doing well for you? Something to that effect. And when you do it, again, it achieves the effective frequency portion of it, is that people need to hear the message. And it opens up the floor, and that's why we even brought it up. It opens up the floor for you to ask for referrals, because most of the time they're going to say, yeah, it's going well, which gives you a perfect opportunity to then say, great, we work hard at it, we'd love you to, tell the community, or tell a friend, see a coworker, whatever it may be. It opens up the floor, because asking for referrals are awkward. It's weird if I just come out and say, hey, will you give us more business? So you have to kind of create the opportunity yourself. So this is where it catches two things. One, it keeps the worst complaint from happening. And the other one, it opens up the floor for your staff to consistently ask for referrals. Because if I ask you once, chances of you doing it are not good. It's the same way. We get a lot of referrals from our current clientele, but we have to ask them over and over and over again. And it's the same thing with referrals from patients. If your staff's asking, you will get them, and you will get them at a very high number. but you've got to ask.
Yeah, and if I could interject, so you know what we really try to focus on is looking for lost opportunities, right? So the routines that might typically take place in an ortho practice are what they are, but we want to try and see, okay, where would an opportunity, where could we have built something in or added just a little something that could have created a referral in this case, or avoiding an unwanted comment. You know, so it really just matters what your routine is. I mean, is your routine that you've got 12-year-old Tyler in the chair, and when you're done, the assistant walks Tyler out to the front and mom's waiting in the lobby? Or is it that you bring mom back to kind of fill her in on how things have gone? Or is mom in the car? I mean, it really just kind of matters what the situation is. But you know, if there's that opportunity for that person-to-person interaction, you created an opportunity to make sure there is no unwanted or no stone left unturned. And there is an opportunity to then promote for that referral and ask for the referral based off of a very positive interaction. Right? So if you don't have that face-to-face, we would say try to create that face-to-face. And even though we have busy practices, that's an opportunity that may be left unturned if we don't recognize it.
Any other questions on that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends on the nature of your practice.
Yes. And that goes back, we're a program that's very customized. I think the cookie cutter, we're going to do it the same way for you as you. That whole routine it's outdated. We don't believe it works. So his process of us understanding what your process is before we're able to teach it very much applies. This is just kind of the philosophy behind it from an effective frequency standpoint. There's no doubt if your team is not asking every time, you're losing opportunities. And that's biology speaking, not us. Just because consumers have to hear it over and over and over again before they're likely to do it. Upwards of 20 times, like we talked about.